Okay, what I wanted to know was, Ted talked about the later years.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back and talk about your years when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And what do you first remember about your family? What's the earliest you remember?
I remember, the earliest I remember, when I don't know what I would have been, 3, 4 years old. I remember it was evening. I wanted to go over to my granddad's. You know, there was a house between our house and his house. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go over there.
That was Grandpa Karlovitz.
Grandpa Karlovitz. And at night I went over there, went in, and the fellas were playing cards, you know, in the big room. And I watched them and so on. And I don't know, that's stuck in my memory. So that's the earliest thing I can remember. But I went over there and watched them play cards.
How would you say that would be?
I would say I was about maybe 3, 4 years old, you know, real young.
Okay, what do you remember about your mother when you were young and she was younger? We always knew her older, you know. I mean, she always seemed older to us. What do you remember about your mother when she was younger? Her sisters, who was she close to, besides taking care of the house and things like that? What did your mother do? What role did she play? Did she ever work with her parents in the tailor shop or anything like that?
No, I don't remember her ever working over there. She had enough to do at home, and she stayed at home. And her mother would come over to the house to talk. I don't remember ever her dad coming over. Her mother would come over, and you know, they would talk and so on. And I don't remember too much any big impression until I got a little older, you know.
Was she particularly close to a sister, or?
Was she what?
Particularly close to a particular sister? She had how many sisters?
She had one sister.
Just one?
Yeah.
What was her name?
Anna. But Anna married Moore. Anna became Anna Moore, and lived out in the country there near Bellevue. But I don't remember her. Well, of course, they were married, apparently. So I don't remember her, except when we would go out to their home, you know, when we lived all around Bellevue. But I don't remember too much. I remember the normal things around the house, you know, Mom baking always.
I always remember when we would go, her making the noodles on the middle of the dining room table, and putting the flour in, then making a hole and putting the egg in and mixing it up and cutting it. Yeah,
she would always lay them out bare and roll it out, and then she would cut it into strips. And then up in the upstairs, there was a back bedroom that we didn't use, and she would take it up there and let it dry, you know, let the noodles dry. And
how could you have a back bedroom that you didn't use with all the kids you had?
Well, it's in the summertime it would have been okay. In the wintertime, there was no heat upstairs. See, we had to get the heat came from downstairs. Until later, they did put a small gas stove in the big room upstairs. As you came up the stairs, this big room, they put a gas stove in there, a heating stove. And
so where did the kids sleep?
There were two beds in there, and I and Walter slept in one bed, and Albert slept in the other bed, and Esther had a separate room there, you know.
On the other side, the big main room, the stairs were up the middle, big main room on one side, and then another room on the other side.
Yeah, back.
In the back.
In the back room we didn't use because, well, you had to heat it, you know, it's in the wintertime. So we used it for storage, really. And
I remember when I was in my teens and, well, growing up, that we used to go up and you kept stuff stored in that, on that left-hand side, and one of the things was the old bass drum, or
Yeah.
tell me about that drum, where that came from.
Well, that drum, her dad's father was a drummer boy in
Or Dad's father
Civil
was.
War,
Huh.
and he had that drum,
So they were in
And
the
he brought
United
that-
States that long?
and he brought that drum home,
Mm-hmm.
and
Because it was like new.
yeah, it was. And then Dad used to use it at Billings, you know, when you got married, you know, they have a belling, they called it.
No, tell me about Bellings.
Well, when somebody got married, why on certain night, shortly after they got married, they would come and they would bring pots and pans and a lot of stuff, you know, and they'd beat on them and make a lot of noise, and then they would give the pots and pans to the people.
Huh.
But they called it a belling.
Uh-huh.
And Dad, and some of them would take this drum. And one of the times they had this drum, and somebody didn't like the noise, and they took a knife and cut one of the heads on the one side of the drum. And that's the way it always remained. They never did get it fixed up. You know. That's the way it remained. Well, the drum, after Dad's dad died, Dad got the drum, and so it was upstairs in the closet. And
So it was the Dick side of the family that drum came from.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was there. And then one time I went home, and I don't know what came up about the drum, you know, and it wasn't there. And I said, "What came of the drum?" And Mom said, "Well, just taking up room," and she put it in the trash.
Oh, no. I always wondered what happened to that drum, because
Yeah.
that would have been a precious relic
Oh yeah.
to collect.
Oh yeah. It was in such good shape.
Oh, and you know,
And yeah.
collectors of the Civil War and that, they'd have given their eye teeth for
Oh
it.
yeah. She put it out with the trash, and they hauled it away. So somebody, I'm assuming somebody saw that and really took it, you know. and
Maybe, if they realized
realized what it would, you know.
what it was.
What it was.
Yeah.
So well, that's what happened to the drum. It got
Because I
tossed in the
always
trash.
wondered. All right. Your house, I remember the barn like in the back.
Yeah, that was a barn.
Was it used ever as a barn? What was kept
Well,
there?
of course, before my folks bought the place, it had been just like a little farm barn, because probably wasn't settled around there, you know, and it was, it had two grain bins, you know, where you put grain, and it had a hay mow, you know, where you bring in hay and put it up in the mow, and some stalls for horses. And then when my folks bought it, of course, they didn't use it that way, so they took down some of the stalls for horses, but the grain bins were there for a long time. And then they finally tore that barn down and rebuilt it smaller, and used the lumber from it. And what they found out that the 2x4s were black walnut. Black walnut 2x4s,